Welcome back to the channel, and for this one, I'm going to be doing my mock draft 2.0, giving an update to the big free agent signings that we had, and also with some of the trades. I'm trying to make this one much quicker than the previous one, being just a little bit over half an hour. Some of a good portion of these are going to stay the same as I had in the first one, and also vice versa. Some of them are, a good portion are going to be changed. So starting off with the Panthers, I don't have changes here. I still think they're going to take C.J. Stroud. Again, I think for some of my mock drafts in the future leading up to the draft, I might change that. It's going to be definitely between Stroud and Bryce Young, but for now I have Stroud there. And same thing for Texans. I have Bryce Young at 2. They survived the debacle at the end of the season. Feeling like they missed out on the first overall pick for the Bryce Young sweepstakes. They still get him at 2. 3 is a very interesting one because of Jalen Carter with off-the-field problems, especially with his pro day. Showing up 9 pounds heavier and also not being able to finish the drills, having a hard time breathing on top of the racing, which he was given his punishment of 1-year probation, along with a few other things, community service and so forth. But with that too, I think my bigger concern is just his pro day. I get some people don't put too much into it, and I do. I feel the same way too for especially for quarterbacks, because you're just making plays that it's going to make you, or call plays that are just going to make you look good. No one really fails at their pro day for quarterbacks when I always look at that. But for this, I really worry for Carter about not being able to stay in shape, stay in shape during this process. Because it's not that too long ago we were at the draft, the combine, and now we're at the pro days, which was not too long ago. I worry, is he going to be disciplined? Does he constantly need somebody like a training camp coaches that constantly need to tell him to stay in shape, to keep pushing himself? This is an interview basically for the combine, for the pro day. These are all interviews. So if you can't put in the time to stay in top shape, how can teams trust you to do that in the off season when the season's over? Are you going to show up after your rookie season, going into your second season a little bit heavier, a few pounds overweight, tired, not being able to do the drills? Is that going to be a concern? I think he's going to slide a little because of that, and we'll see how the process goes on. I'm going to go with Will Anderson at 3 with that. I think, again, on that same level, but you don't have the concerns on the off the field as opposed to Carter. For the Colts, I do have them taking their franchise quarterback, same as I had Will Levis. Number 5, I'm reaching this up, making this much more realistic than it was my last one. I still have Anthony Richardson going to the Seahawks, but instead of my crazy 20th overall pick selection, I do have him at 5. You are in a unique spot, especially you can thank the Denver Broncos for that, where you are a playoff team and you're still able to get your franchise guy. He could sit under Geno Smith for 2-3 years. If Smith can continue playing how he did this past season, he can develop for how long they have Geno, and then hopefully when Richardson's time is called upon, he is a more refined quarterback and much more comfortable in the NFL setting. For Lions, I'm gonna still stick with Devin Witherspoon. They need to add in that secondary. I think it's a great spot adding on to that defense that really struggled for a good portion of this past season, and definitely it's a great addition for that. For this one, again, I'm going to stick with what I said. I still have Christian Gonzalez going 7th. Again, for the whole Derek Carr saga, overall, the defense has always been one of the worst in the NFL when he played. It's not going to change just because you switch quarterbacks. You still have a bad defense. You need to add on to that. For the Falcons, Jalen Carter could be a spot here, but I'm going to pass on that. I'm going to say Tyree Wilson is a great spot here. You got the nice pickup in free agency with Jesse Bates. I think you add on here with Tyree Wilson, gives you a nice pass rush on that side. Some of the people on the defensive line are getting up there in age, and I think retooling that a little bit and getting a much younger, freaking athlete really. And Tyree Wilson is definitely going to be it's going to be tough to pass on that spot. Number 9, this is where I have Jalen Carter, and with everything I said, I get it, but if you can trade from 1st to 9th and still get the guy who, before all this came out, where we thought this was unanimous first overall pick if Chicago was still keeping it. Now, there was talks of Bryce Young and stuff like that, if they were going to switch out with Justin Fields and trade him away. I think they made the great option of keeping Fields. But if you can still get your, what we thought was unanimous first overall pick if Chicago was keeping it, I think this could be a spot, and hopefully this is just a small bumps on the road for him, and he can really turn it around and have a great future, because I know he has the talent to do so. So I think number 9 for Jalen Carter, trading down, getting all those picks, getting a Pro Bowl receiver from Carolina, and still getting your guy, if that was where your eyes were still set on, I think it was an amazing spot. So for the Eagles, I had Porter Jr. last for this one. And I kind of want to take a step back and think about this. I did talk to someone, I'm still commenting on someone that was wrote something on my first mock draft, and he was talking to me about how cornerback's not a need, even though I see a ton of mock drafts that do have a corner there. I did pick Porter Jr. at 10, but he made me think a little. I wanted to step back and rethink about it, and I appreciate him leaving the comments for that. And I welcome all that. I welcome all you guys commenting on this video or the previous one and bouncing ideas back and forth and trying to figure out, hey, what's a better option at, for a certain spot, certain pick. So I welcome that. Please leave comments on your thoughts on the mock draft. So I kind of thought, what do we need? Or not what do we need, but what does the Eagles need? So of course, they lost one of their guards to free agency. I picked corner because of, not knowing, but looking at it now, they lost C.J. Gardner. They're going to potentially be losing Slay. They almost cut him, but they brought him back. Bradbury up there in age at 29. And he threw ideas at it. He threw linebacker, defensive tackle, safety, and so forth. And I wanted to look back and kind of break it down a little bit more. And I thought defensive line is probably a bigger key to the draft, especially with Fletcher Cox. You didn't know if you were going to be able to bring him back. Even like the last season, they were trying to potentially move off of him. He came back. He was a big help for their playoff run. Comes back for one more year. You're starting to really push that limit of, is he going to be released after this season or not? But I think regardless, I think you need to get a replacement for him. And I have Kensie with the 10th overall pick. You get a freakish athlete at that D tackle position. Again, he's a tad bit undersized, but when you look at the combine for his measurements, he reminds you of another former Pitt player, Aaron Donald. Not saying he's going to be that. I mean, for Eagles, for their sake, they probably wish that he turns into the next Aaron Donald, because that would be unbelievable for them. But I think getting a replacement for Fletcher Cox is key for that. So for the Titans, I got still sticking with my original pick, Peter Skoronski. If I butcher that, I'm sorry. Replacing Taylor Lewan. I still have Quinn Johnston at 12. Again, getting yourself a big receiver for Bryce Young, surrounding him with talent. For the Jets, I do have them taking a tackle with Paris Johnson Jr. Whoever is that going to be? Zach Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, whoever is going to be the quarterback at the start of the season, I have that going to them. Looking down a little bit more for this. For the Patriots, the big thing too was Devin McCourty did retire. And I think this is a spot. I don't like this quarterback. Mac Jones is going to be on the team unless they make the crazy move to get Lamar Jackson. Mac Jones is the quarterback, so that's not a need. Unless he just takes another huge step back this season, then next offseason we can say, okay, quarterback is a need for him, but it's not for this one. I think you try and look for Devin McCourty's replacement, and I believe Brian Branch is a good selection at 14. So number 15, I'm going to stick where I said, Dalton Kincaid. Washington, again, I got the comments on this too. I wanted to take a step back and think about this. After this one, I'm going to say, for Washington's sake, I'm gonna go corner here, and I'm going to say Joey Porter Jr. with the 16th pick. Trying to rebuild trying to add a little bit more pieces to that defense. I thought about edge because of Chase Young. There's concerns of are they going to pick up his fifth-year option? I'm not sure if they did. If they did decide on that, let me know. I apologize for not knowing. But you have the problems with the injuries. He had horrible luck with injuries the last 2 seasons. But there's concern eventually you're going to have to extend them. And is he going to ask for a ton of money? What's going to happen with that? So there was a part of me that wanted to take someone on defensive line at this pick, but I think you already put too much on first round picks on that side, or that defensive line, I should say. That I kind of makes it redundant to throw another one in there. So I went Porter Jr. Great physical upside with it, as a tangible, his physical makeup. I think he has potential to be a elite corner, and I think that's great for Washington to add on to that. Already have good pieces around for quarterback. We'll see what Sam Howell does with that. Wide receiver, don't need anyone in the first round. Running back, don't need anybody really. Guess you could say you could add someone on the offensive line, but I think Porter Jr. will be a good pick right here at 16. The Steelers, I do have Anton Harrison. Again, you need to help with, of course, add protection, just like anybody else. Common sense for this, for Pickett, and also help Najee Harris with his runs, open up more holes for him so he can get more yards for that. I think he has a potential to be one of the best running backs in the NFL, but he just doesn't have the offensive line for it. So the second Lions pick, of course, we have Witherspoon going with the 6th overall pick. I'm gonna say Brian Brees. You pair him up with Aiden Hutchinson on that line, and definitely try and bolster that part of the defense. And you also get a top-notch corner with the 2nd overall pick. So I think for Dan Campbell's defense, that is a great 2 picks, double down on defense on that side. Bucks, you just signed Baker Mayfield to a 1-year deal. We'll see what happens with that. They could be a team that is going to be, trying to be fighting for one of the top picks in the draft if Baker doesn't play well this year. If you get the Baker from Carolina, maybe you probably be picking high. But for this one, I think you have to get protection for him. Just help fix that offensive line. I'm going to go with Steve Avila, if I pronounced that right too. I'm sorry if I didn't. Again, give protection to Baker or whoever is. I know they have Kyle Trask as well. They did say that he was going to be a starter, but I mean, if you're bringing Baker in, he could be fighting for the starting spot. I mean, who knows who's going to be starting there? If it is Trask or Mayfield, again, I don't know. I think I wouldn't be shocked if they had an open competition for that. And whoever's playing at that spot, you need protection for them. So we have the Eagles now with the 2nd pick. First one being Anthony Richardson. I have Lucas Van Ness going there. Again, trying to fix that side of the ball, trying to rebuild that, get better pass rush on it, with it too. I think it's a great pick at 20 for him. You get your franchise guy at 5, and you get a great piece on defense for 20 with Lucas Van Ness. Skipping the Dolphins, they have the 4th with their pick. I have Jordan Addison going here because probably after this season, you're going to be moving on from Keenan Allen just because of his age and injury concerns. You need to get someone that's going to be the future alongside Mike Williams with them. This could also be the spot for Bijan Robinson because we don't know what's going on with Eckler. The only reason why I didn't pick that is because, of course, we don't know what's happening. There's still a chance he could stay, and I don't want to pick, him at 2.0, and then he, a few days later they sign a short-term deal or something, and then it's like, well, the pick was kind of wasted. So I'm gonna go with Jordan Addison with this one. With the Ravens, we are once going back-to-back. I'm gonna pick Jackson Smith and Jigba, trying to ease the tensions with Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying it might not even do anything, but adding more offensive pieces around him instead of just making the whole offense around, just solely on Lamar carrying the team. I think, getting a nice weapon. First receiver you take in the first round since 2019 at Marquise Brown. And some people might argue that Jackson Smith could be better than Marquise. I know the only downside is he's solely slot receiver, but I think with the new offensive coordinator, going to be presumed to be more pass heavy in that sense. I think this is going to be a nice weapon for Lamar Jackson, along with few pieces with Andrews and then J.K. Dobbins if he can stay healthy. So for the Vikings, I do have a corner here. I have Deonte Banks. You just lost Patrick Peterson. You have to rebuild that defense. It was the worst in the NFL. It essentially will cost you your playoffs. I think it's a great spot here. You did get Booth Jr. last year in the second round. He had injury problems as well, so he didn't play too much, but getting him for the season and then also adding on Deonte Banks, I think is a great spot for this one. So for the Jaguars, you just lost your tackle to the Chiefs, and I think you need to make an immediate replacement for him. And I have Broderick Jones going here. Again, trying to protect Trevor Lawrence. Of course, wide receivers off the question here. I mean, you could go secondary, but I think for this one, I getting protection for Trevor Lawrence is key. Trying to help build his growth and take another step in his third season, along with the new added pieces around him. So for the Giants, I have Zay Flowers going here. You need to find out if Daniel Jones is the franchise guy. You did get Darren Waller with trading a 3rd round pick for him. You're getting a potential elite tight end. Going to knock on him his injury, but you get a great tight end and that with big upside, and along with drafting a 1st round, people are very high on Zay Flowers. So once again, adding talent around him to see and accelerate the process of knowing, is Daniel Jones your franchise guy and is he worth that money? Because you can get out under that contract pretty soon. But going to Dallas for next, I have Bijan Robinson going here because you just got rid of Ezekiel Elliott. You're not sure of Tony Pollard. I don't think Jerry Jones is going to make the same mistake again of overpaying for Tony Pollard, and I think it's gonna be the same situation with CeeDee Lamb where he's gonna, if he drops to him, he's just gonna be a sucker and take him. And I think this is a spot for him where you're gonna have a nice 1-2 combo with Robinson. I guess get your next Ezekiel Elliott for that, and have Tony Pollard for a year, and after that you would move on from him and try and figure out who you would put behind Robinson. For the Bills here, again, all the receivers are gone. Robinson's gone. I know there's a lot of mock drafts that have Robinson going to the Bills. But for this one, I'm going to stick with, especially for us, I'm going to go with the obvious. I'm going to say Torrance. Give Allen that protection. Help fill that void at that guard position. And, of course, with that helping with Cook, with the running ability, I think it makes perfect sense for that. So for the Bengals, I do see a lot of mock drafts that do have Darnell Washington right here, though I think it's a tad high, but I'm sure a lot of them don't have Mike Mayer falling this far as I do. I'm going to go safety. Could be a spot because of just losing Jesse Bates. I'm trying to think. Tackle, you just signed Orlando Brown. I'm gonna say Mike Mayer. I'm gonna stick with tight end, but not the right tight end that people have. I'm gonna say Mike Mayer to the Bengals. Help fill the void in with Hurts. So for the Saints, I'm going to go with Nolan Smith. I think just with his ability falling this far in the draft, we'll see where he lands. I know people view him as being undersized for his position, but I think having such a versatile player like that on that defense, I think you'll find a way to put him in. And as some players get older, or if they move on from certain players, I think this could be a great spot for the Saints. But going to with the Eagles. So with the first pick, we did have defensive tackle Kelsey. So for 30, let's see what we can do. We still have Myles Murphy on here. I don't think it's necessarily a need. Darwin Jones, but I don't know about that. It still says wide receiver, but I don't see wide receiver as a need, honestly. Maybe we can start looking at the linebacker position. I know a lot of people are very high on Jack Campbell. He's definitely rising up at the board, especially for definitely for us, for the Bills. I see a lot more people being hyped up about him, so maybe he could be a first round spot for us, replacing Tremaine Edmonds. But maybe Eagles go there. I know they had Dean, Nakobe Dean, if I do have that right, from Georgia. They took him in the 3rd round, but he was, of course, very undersized for the linebacker position. Would safety be? Would Antonio Johnson be a reach for this? I don't know. I mean, you lost on Brian Branch with the 14 spot. I mean, for that, I chose D tackle over there because you know, looking for a future after Fletcher Cox, probably be moving on after this season with him. So it's safe. So would Antonio Johnson be a high pick? But then again, you have to think when the Eagles are going to be drafting again in the 2nd rounds, all the players are going to be gone potentially. So you kind of have to like preview for that. Let's look at linebacker again. Let's get a look at it. That's tough. I'm going back and forth between that and safety. I mean, big safety 6'3", 195, a little bit lighter than that, but I think he can get to 200. I think for him, I think it's a tad too high. Let's look at linebacker one more time. So we have Dalen Henley, Jack Campbell. People are high on Trenton Simpson. I'm gonna go with best linebacker available. I'm gonna say Dalen Henley. You know, again, try and retool that defense. Lost a lot of free agents this offseason. You know, couldn't re-sign everybody, but so moving on to the final pick, the Kansas City Chiefs. They just got their tackle. Wide receiver could be a spot here. Josh Downs, it could be a very interesting spot. Defensive line. I mean, look at what's left. I think Josh Downs could definitely be a spot here. And you have the last pick in the draft. Just kind of, I want to say you're a wasted pick. You're throwing it out there, but I guess to try and get more weapons around Mahomes, I think this could be definitely a good spot. Maybe Myles Murphy. I think if he does, actually, I think if he falls to him, actually, you know what? I'm gonna say Myles Murphy. Myles Murphy here. I think for him falling this far, he's probably me going much higher, but for Myles Murphy on the defensive line, we're going to be taking that. So with that is my wrap-up of the Mock Draft 2.0. I got this done much quicker than the last one. Just kind of quickly scroll down to give one more overall look of the draft. This is what I have listed for Mock Draft 2.0. Probably more realistic. There's probably some players I have sliding maybe way too much or taken way too high, but I would say probably a little bit more realistic, better draft than I did my first one. But with that being said, let me know your thoughts down below. The mock draft I have, if you agree with it or not, and if you don't, please let me know the players that you would take for your team. With all that being said, thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one.